Plasticity is increasingly and incrementally incoming with ingenious innovations, and I'm here to inform you that the developer listens, and listen he did. In this instance, it's instances that intrigue within this Christmassy release. That's right, folks. The latest stable release is here, Plasticity 2025.3, and I can tell you now that Plasticity has yet to plateau. We will need to delete our redundant workflow to make room for more speed, power, and capability than ever before. Now, this release is jam-packed with new features, and that will change the way we work. I can't cover them all here, but I'm going to highlight my favorites, including some things that went under my radar during the beta. Welcome to Take Refuge 3D, welcome back, and if you're new here, then welcome. And quickly before we get into it, don't forget you can get a 10% discount on any Plasticity license using my code REFUGE10 for either the studio or the indie license. Now, if you like this update content, don't forget to like and subscribe for the algorithm and hit the little bell notification so you can be updated when I release a new video. So, Plasticity 2025.3. So this is a very big release, and one of the things that people are most excited about is instances. So I whipped up this little sci-fi door gate portal thing in about an hour using instances. Now, the amount of clicks that this reduces is just amazing. So if we look here, I've got a live symmetry thingo here. So this is all live symmetry, right? Using instances. This contraption's only made up of one piece, which I've then mirrored and then rotated 4 times. So the instancing, you can kind of nest them, right? So we'll go into it a little bit deeper in a moment. But as you can see here, I've got my steps, and they're all instanced as well, right? So everything here is instanced basically, with the exception of this one little circle here. So there's only one of these, and then we get them all across. So you can tell the instances because they've got the black outline, and well, no, the main solids have got the black outline, and the instances have got these white wireframes. So that's how you can tell them apart. So let's just quickly have a look at what we can do with that. I'm just going to start a new file. All right, so we've got this cube here. Okay, so first of all, how does an instance work? So what you would do is you run the instance command. So we can go F for our search menu and type in instance, and we've got this new command, create instance. I've set mine to Control-Shift-D because it's like another kind of duplication, I guess. So I'm going to create an instance, and now we're set to move, right? And we can move that instance out. So now when we edit this instance, the other instance also gets edited. And obviously that's power in its own right, but the real power with instances comes with nesting them. So let's do an example of that. So first of all, actually let's do an example of live symmetry right now. So I'm going to just cut this in half. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of this half. Okay, so we've got this object like that. So I've got this object here. I'm going to press Control-Shift-D as I made my command, and it immediately puts it into move mode. So then what you can do is you can press V, and you can set your pivot down here. And I've got it set to pivot, active. And then I'm going to right click to confirm that. We can check our pivot by rotating it like that. And now what we can do is we can scale the instance on -1. So we go scale, and it's on the x-axis. So we go x -1. Okay, and now we've got our instance on the other side. So now we can work with live symmetry. So we can do our normal operations, and we've got basically a mirror. When we turn that off, when we turn our wireframe off, you can see that there's no join or anything like that, unless we wanted to make one, obviously. So if we wanted to make a join like that, we could do something like that. Okay, so that's all fine and well. So like I said before, the power comes with grouping the instances, right? So let's put these into a group, the solid, the original, and the mirrored side, and we go Control plus G to make a group, okay? And that's put everything into a group, okay? What we can now do is we can instance our group. We've got to select the group itself from the outliner and then run the command, okay? And then we get this new one, and it's obviously group 1. So we can now scale this Z minus 1, okay? So now we've got this instance. Now we only need to update 1 and all sides update. And then you can get even more powerful with this. So let's say we make a fillet in here. All right, I'm just gonna copy this, okay, this curve, and you'll notice that this curve's come outside of the group. That's okay for now. And then let's make, like, let's say for example, a bolt of some kind. Okay, so we got our little bolt here. Now we can Shift F and use curve array along that curve. All right, make it a little bit less. And we could just bring the extent back a little bit as well. Okay, and these are all solids. So what we can actually do is Shift F, curve array, and this works with any of the arrays. We'll just bring the extent back again, and you can click Make Instances down there. So when we right click to accept that, you'll notice that these ones are all instances. So only this one here is the one that we work with. And then what we can do is we can grab all of these instances and we can put that into, it's not going to let us because we've got group 1. We can't put the group into the group. Into there. And we can mirror them across. And now we've got all of our bolts inside of our group. And as you can see, that's all nested nicely. So that's a bit of a ramshackle way to show you, but I think that shows the power of what we've got. There's a lot you could do with this, and you could build things up very, very quickly. And then when you're happy with your final result, you just select everything. You go to your F menu and you type in instance again, and you've got this other command, which is realize instances, and that makes everything real. Okay, and then you could just QQ everything together. And I mean, the bolts are probably not touching, but there you have it. So and I think, are some of those still instances? No, they're all real, and they're all, yep, so they're all joined up. So I think this is amazing, and I think that so many people are going to be able to do so much cool stuff with it. So let's just quickly open up that other file that I had. Okay, so as you can see here, it's just an extrapolation of everything that I did there. So this is a single instant. This is a single object, and these are instances. In this case, it's even more complicated, where I've got the one object and I've mirrored it across and rotated that 4 times. The stairs are all individual objects, and these are all individual objects that are mirrored. So these are all operating on live symmetry. So as you can see, I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 objects in total to make this complex geometry, and this only took about an hour. So that's it on instances. I did do a little video on one of my beta update videos, so if you want to be on the bleeding edge of what's in Plasticity, I do a new video every time it's worthwhile to do an update and there's a few new features, and you can follow along with the betas. So let's move on to some of the other stuff. So one of the cool things is that we've had in Plasticity that's just kind of unusual for CAD is that we've always had this ability to move planar edges, or we haven't always had it, but it's something that was introduced a year or 2 back, and that's really handy. But now we have this new feature, which is we can do this with circles and cones. So how that could be handy is you can obviously for form finding and things like that. And then see, I've made a cone, kind of a non-uniform, and we can bring this up. And look, we've just built a surface here by just pulling that out, right? So we've got this circular kind of surface. So it's just another way to find shapes. So I think this is another really handy basic tool to give us these sort of like bulges and things like that that we previously didn't have. So just the more the merrier when it comes to tools like this. So one other thing that I did want to mention is improvements to the OBJ exporter. So we've got tris here, quads and n-gons, okay? And now some softwares have a real hard time dealing with n-gons, especially when there's like a indentation. I can give you examples of this. Now we can click this button here that says convex n-gons only, which adds triangulation so that when you're using software like Marmoset, and I believe 3ds Max isn't very good at n-gons in that regard, and Resom UV, they will often create a face where there's like a hole. So I can give you an example of this. So here I am in Marmoset Toolbag, and I've got two of the exact same object. So if I turn the wireframe on, okay, which I don't know why it's, okay, there we go. So I've got the wireframe on. This is the one where I turned the convex n-gons button on, and you can see that I got this in there and it's triangulated these areas. You can see on this one, it hasn't triangulated the areas, and it's created a face here, but it's also created a face here, 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 and here. Well, actually it didn't do it on that side, but it's created these three faces and this face, and these are the exact same object. There's just this toggle switch. So if you're not going to be like doing retopo to some mad degree and you want to go and UV these things directly, you may have some issues in these types of software if you've got these convex concave n-gons. So this just triangulates the part to get rid of those concave n-gons. However, I have noticed with Resom UV, it's not, it used to be quite bad, but in this case, it's not that bad. But with some other models that I've been using lately, it has been bad. So in this particular case, so with, you can try both basically, because obviously there could be some benefits to having just pure n-gons rather than tris, but obviously you can do your UVing in Resom. If you wanted any content on Resom, maybe I could do some of that as well. That covers the OBJ exporter. Now, another cool thing that we could do is we can now export SVGs. So if I duplicate this and just get the wireframe there, and look at it front on, so we can SX0. We can now export that as an SVG, and so let's export SVG, and here you can see that in Affinity I've imported my SVG, and we can now mess with the curves or whatever. So if you wanted to like go to an SVG, a vector software, and do your curves, or you just wanted a 2D image from your Plasticity curves, you could do that as well. So obviously we've had the ability to import SVGs for a while, which I've done a couple of tutorials on in the past. And finally, there's a new hidden sort of command, which is we have to go into our preferences, okay, and I believe it's under web publishing. We can turn it on, right? So this is turned off by default for security reasons. So It is relatively secure in its own right, but if you're working in a closed box environment, you may not want to accidentally publish things to the web. So now we can go share, publish to Plasticity share. Are you sure I want to do this 129 kilobyte document to, yep. And what it's going to do, well, it didn't work in that case. And now it's publishing. I don't know what that little bug was, but I'm sure it'll get ironed out. So now it's opening up a web browser. It's loading the document. And this is our object, right? Online. You can see it's online. It's on this URL. Okay, and we can change our matcaps around as we would normally be able to do so. And yeah, that's all good. So that's a really cool feature, and it's a really interesting feature as well. I haven't seen this in 3D software before, so look, I think I'm going to leave it there. You can check out the Plasticity website for all of the updates. These are a few of the things that I think are really cool, and especially these instances. This is just the whole way that we use Plasticity is going to change, especially for concepting out things, modeling. This is amazing. Like, I made this so quickly. I wasn't having to delete silly objects. Like, I could just make as you can see, if we just go back into our matcap mode, yeah, all those white lines is where this is instances. So this whole circle is made out of this one sort of eighth of the circle, and there's 4 of these and 3 of these and so on and so forth. So this is a really handy, cool trick. So I'd really want to see what people are going to do with this going forward. And like I said, subscribe. Don't forget I'm a Plasticity affiliate. You can get a 10% discount with the code REFUGE10. And I'll see you guys all in the next one, which will be sooner rather than later. I am confident. Tschüss!